Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be a little bit different for you. I wanted to do this video for a while now, and it's going to be my top 3 worst retail experiences. Now this is not me kind of grasping in a store and being like, oh they're the worst store ever, but this is me being a retail advisor being kind of treated badly by customers. So I'm not going to name and shame, I'm not going to name stores, I'm not going to do anything like that, but I'm just going to share with you my 3 kind of stories that I have from working in retail that have been absolutely awful. So the first one that I have to share with you is from when I worked in a shoe store, and while I was working there I had a customer that disagreed with me on a refund. He was out of the refund policy, so I obviously refused him the refund, and he decided to take matters into his own hand by shouting, swearing at me, really kind of getting really angry with me. So obviously I dealt with the situation in a mature manner and stepped back and just said no kind of thing. He didn't agree with that and decided to take matters into his own hands by getting the shoes from the shelf and throwing them at me. So he did this for a good 10 to 15 minutes, just continued to throw them at me, left the store screaming, shouting, swearing at the top of his lungs. We had a massive crowd of people looking. It was more embarrassing than I would say kind of scary. Obviously I was a little bit worried because it was a grown man shouting at a girl. But at the time in the situation I didn't feel threatened in a way that he could have hurt me because there was a lot of people there. It was more embarrassing because I just had loads of people staring at me, kind of asking me to deal with the situation when I couldn't. So that is my first experience. My second experience was when I was working in a store. It was my first ever job. I was 17 years old, never worked in retail before, and I was in a store and I was on checkout. And I had this lady come to the till and she was completely fine, completely normal, put her shopping through the till, bagged them for her, got to the bit where I had to give her her change, and that is when she changed. She took the money and then just kind of dropped it, and I immediately started picking up the change and was like, oh, are you okay? Thinking she'd had a static shock or something had happened. And she just screamed at the top of her lungs, you threw the money at me, which obviously I would never do. It's my first job, I would never throw money anyway now when I'm 10 years into retail. So it was a little bit of a shock, but she didn't just stop there. She continued shouting at me to the point where I started crying, and she shouted more. As soon as I started crying, she knew that she respected me. She shouted more, she shouted louder, she swore, everything went kind of on. The manager came out and immediately escorted her out of the store. And that affected me really, really badly. I had to leave the shop. I was crying my eyes out. I had to go upstairs into the little staff area, and I couldn't go back down to finish my shift. It was my first job, my first ever experience of being shouted at before, so that was really, really bad. And the third and final experience is a little bit more funny. Not many kind of shouting going on in this one. Again, it was in a shoe store and I was working there, and I was on till and there was a lady in the store who was waiting to be served, kind of thing. So I came out from the till after finish serving another person, and I directly looked her in the eye as she put a pair of shoes in her bag. So obviously in retail you get told when it comes to that situation you're not allowed to approach the customer, you're not allowed to say anything to them, you're supposed to call the police, and the police are meant to come in and deal with it. So as this customer left and went to walk past me out the store, I kind of thought, no, it's like not on my watch. I'm not going to have anyone steal and look me directly in the eye and put an item in their bag. So I very casually and very nicely just said, hey, you're going to pay for the items that are in your bag right now. To which she laughed and just said, oh, I was just waiting to get changed. I was like, yeah, that's fine. It's like, you can go get your money with the item, leaving it with me, basically. She didn't argue, she didn't disagree. She handed the items over with me. She left the store and obviously never returned with the change. So yeah, those are my top 3 worst retail experiences. Obviously there's plenty more, I've got plenty more experiences, but I want to hear your experiences. Obviously you've clicked on this video either as a customer or as someone that works in retail, but I want to know your worst experiences. That's whether you're naming a store and shaming them, or whether that's you in a retail position and you want to say your worst experience that you've had with a customer. So please leave them linked below, I'd love to check those out. And yes, thank you for watching this video, I do hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!